Because it's not the high-level, super knowledgeable, I got decades of experience accountants that are in any kind of risk. It's only you juniors just beginning to enter the workplace. And that's because every piece of the beginner accounting job, payroll, bookkeeping, invoicing, reconciliation, basic auditing, AI is already doing faster, better, and far less money. Oxford researchers put bookkeeping and tax prep near the top of their most automatable jobs, with a 98% probability that it'll be fully automated. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs study puts accounting and bookkeeping as one of the fastest declining jobs in 2025 heading into 2030. So what does this mean? It means it's going to be relatively hard to get those entry-level accounting jobs in the near future because all of those repetitive, rule-based, boring tasks that junior accountants used to do are all being automated away by AI tools we're already using in the workplace today. QuickBooks has rolled out accounting agents that auto-categorize transactions without a human ever touching them. Vic AI is currently selling autonomous accounting and processes invoices with 99% accuracy. BotKeeper is literally replacing entire bookkeeping departments with their automated algorithms. At a bare minimum, accounting is going to look drastically different in the next 5 years. The second area of study that's going to waste in the AI era is graphic design and visual arts. For decades, we all thought the creative subject would be the last to do it. And yet some of the first consumer-facing AI products we were given by the overlords allowed us to generate any image we could possibly think of. The Future of Jobs report has graphic design as the 11th fastest declining job category in the world. Why? Because we've got tools like Adobe Firefly or Midjourney or even Google's Nano Banana that's now made everyone a designer. You no longer require specialized skills and a 4-year degree to remove a background or color grade a photo or design a logo. AI is already doing that in seconds. Canva conducted a massive study on the visual economy and found that 92% of business leaders expect regular employees, people in sales, HR, marketing, to have design skills and knowledge. So companies are no longer hiring junior designers to make a slide deck or a social media post. They're just getting their marketing guy to do it with Canva or ChatGPT or whatever other AI tool in a couple of minutes. The entry-level work is disappearing. So unless you're already in the top echelon of designers, you're entering a field where the supply of good enough work is infinite and the price is crashing to zero. The third degree on the chopping block is the one everyone told you was the golden ticket: computer science. For the last decade or two, the advice was simple: learn to code. If you did, you were guaranteed a 6-figure salary, a ping pong table in the office, and you'd work amongst a team of pretentious nerds who thought they were too cool to get changed out of their pajamas to come into the office. Well, that advice is now dog shit. A recent study conducted at Stanford shows that job listings and the hiring of entry-level software developers have dropped drastically. Take a look at the decline in the blue line on the graph, which represents entry-level jobs, and look at the orange line, the hiring of 26 to 30-year-olds, both falling off a cliff. And the why is obvious. ChatGPT, Gemini, Cursor, GitHub Copilot have all completely destroyed the value of a junior developer. What do junior devs actually do? They write boilerplate code, they write unit tests, they debug simple errors. Well, guess what? Cursor does that instantly and for $20 a month instead of $120K a year plus benefits and sick leave. We're seeing a massive shift where senior engineers armed with AI can now do the work of 3, 5, maybe even 10 engineers. Companies no longer need juniors to do the grunt work anymore. A recent survey from Stack Overflow and Deal found that 66% of enterprises are actively reducing entry-level hiring specifically because they're adopting AI tools. So why would you bother spending 4 years studying data structures and algorithms only to graduate into a market that pretty much considers you useless? The next useless degree on our list is anything to do with foreign languages and translations. For decades, learning a second language was the ultimate soft skill. If you could speak Mandarin or Spanish or Japanese, you were the bridge, the diplomat, the essential human link between cultures to help get business done. Well, that bridge just got replaced by a server farm somewhere in California. A massive study done by Microsoft's research team put interpreters and translators as the #1 job most vulnerable to AI. AI. They gave it a coverage score of 98%, meaning 98% of the tasks a professional translator does can now be done by AI. We've got tools like Samsung's AI Live Translate or Google Pixel phones that let you have a phone call with someone speaking a completely different language with the phone translating what's being said in real time. And other tools like HeyGen that take a video of you speaking English and instantly dub it into another language while rewriting your lip movements to match that new language. Cool as not gonna lie. Not so cool if you thought that degree in languages and linguistics was going to land you a high-paying job, or any kind of job for that matter. Take Duolingo, for example. The largest language company in the world made headlines recently for cutting a huge chunk of their translators. Why? Because they found AI could generate the lessons faster, cheaper, and arguably better. So if the company whose entire mission is to teach humans languages doesn't even want to hire humans anymore, what chance do you have? Anyways, the next industry and degree that's going to get mogged by AI is paralegals and legal studies. If you've watched Suits, you probably think the legal profession is all about dramatic courtroom speeches and closing deals in high-rise corner offices. It's not. 90% of the job is reading thousands of boring documents, understanding them, summarizing them, and looking for typos. Kind of stuff AI does in seconds. In fact, a 2024 Legal Trends report by Clio showed that 69% of the hourly billable work performed by paralegals can now be automated by AI. We're talking things like document review, case filing, legal research, all the boring grunt work. And it gets worse. Goldman Sachs released a report estimating that 44% of all legal tasks in the US are exposed to automation, higher than almost any other industry in the world. Why? We've got tools like Harvey AI or CoCounsel that can read 500 pages worth of contracts in seconds and tell you exactly where the risks are. A human paralegal or lawyer would take a week to do that. The AI does it in 30 seconds. So here's the problem for you students. The legal industry has always worked on an apprenticeship model. You start out as a junior, you do the grunt work, you learn the ropes, and eventually you work your way up the ladder. But if AI does all the grunt work, how do you ever get your foot in the door? It's the same problem for the accountants and the software developers. The juniors with no experience are offering little to no value, so why would people hire them? Now obviously hiring isn't going to zero, but it's definitely decreasing. Just like in our next field of study, journalism and creative writing. Now if you're studying this because you want to be the next Ernest Hemingway, putting the human soul into words and great works of fiction for other people to enjoy, by all means continue in your studies and Godspeed on your journey. But if you thought you might land a comfortable job at a publication company writing articles for readers on the internet, you're in trouble. You need to very quickly understand that the purpose of writing articles online has so little to do with readership and has so much more to do with Google's search engine optimization. The majority of companies aren't writing articles to be read. They're writing articles to get clicks, validating their website regarding specific topics, and therefore having Google organically rank them higher when those specific topics are searched by users. This has turned writing on the internet into a game of quantity, and nobody does quantity like AI. Jasper AI, Copy AI, or even just ChatGPT can pump out 50 SEO optimized articles in the time it takes you to write a single headline. And as always, we're already seeing people take advantage. CNET got caught publishing fake articles written entirely by AI. Sports Illustrated even went so far as to generate fake headshots for their fake authors. And the job cuts are already happening. We saw at least 8,000 journalists lose their job in 2023, another 4,000 in 2024, and it's not getting any better. A Bain & Co study cited in this report found that more than 80% of consumers now rely on AI-generated summaries without ever clicking through to the source article. If nobody clicks on articles, the ad revenue goes to zero, and when ad revenue goes to zero, journalists get fired. And finally, we arrive at the most popular degree in the world. The degree you pick when your parents tell you to go to college but you have no idea what you actually want to do. Business administration. For decades.
Okay, so this summer I applied for 1,065 jobs. And within the 1,065 jobs, 813 ghosted me, and I got rejected by 241.
I've applied for 1,142 jobs. Here's the results. So out of the 1,000 jobs that I applied for, I got 82 interviews.
My generation got screwed over so bad. As soon as we became adults and had to pay for everything on our own, everything was immediately high.
you've done it. After 4 long, hard, expensive years at college, you've finally graduated. But as you walk across the stage and grab your diploma, your thoughts are totally elsewhere. Instead of feeling joy or accomplishment, you feel a pit in your stomach because you just know the horrors of searching for jobs that await you. And ooh, what's that degree in? Computer science? Weren't you watching Career Life 2419 on TikTok? That degree is absolutely useless now. And oh, you actually spent $100,000 getting into an Ivy League school? Well, that sucks, because actually we were looking for someone with 80 internships, a Nobel Peace Prize, and actually 10 years of experience. And even if you did have those things and you wasted every waking moment of your life in an attempt to gain more career experience, we've actually just replaced the department that you were applying to with an AI bot. Good luck paying your $2,500 a month rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. And I know that could probably sound a bit dramatic, but unfortunately this is the reality for a lot of people. So many people are listening to what they're told is like the right way to go, going to a 4-year college or university, only to find that the job market is just absolutely abysmal right now. And I think TikTok really describes the reality that so many people are facing. Like, a lot of people have taken to expressing their fears, expressing just how bad it's been. So let's just look at this one, because I think it explains a lot about how people are feeling and a lot about how society treats people who are struggling to find employment. This person says, hot topic, I actually hate being unemployed. It makes me feel like such a failure. I go to interviews 24/7 and I don't get the job. And I wake up every day wondering what I'm supposed to do in life. I literally got a college degree for no reason. And a lot of people in the comments did also seem to agree with this. Someone said the job market is terrible and the government's actively working against people who look like you. Give yourself grace, you're trying your best and I applaud you for that. I see why people be scamming, bro, it's rough around here. I'm employed and I still feel like a failure because it's not the degree I got. I have a criminology degree and I can't even get a job at Ross. And something else that I really want to harp on in this TikTok is the fact that this person feels like a failure because, you know, the systems are failing. Like, I really want to harp on the gaslighting, the shaming, because I feel like a lot of things in this current economy are your fault. If you can't find a job, it's your fault. If you're not employable, it's your fault. You actually made a mistake somewhere, and it's not like the fact that the wider populace is struggling with finding a job. A lot of these people who went into college, who did a 4-year degree plan, were actually just following in the footsteps of our elders or parents or generations before us who often owned property, were able to earn a living and literally raise families at some points on one income. And you expect to at least live as one single person, right? But no, that's entitlement actually. You're being entitled. I just wanted to show this video as well because I think it shows a lot of what people hear from older generations when they complain about the state of things, when they complain about things like working a 9-to-5 job. And it really is just such a negative, nasty wall of attitude that people get when they complain about these things, because this is a lot of people's first times dealing with these things. Of course, people aren't going to be instantly ready to deal with those things.
Right now, in the United States of America, the laziest generation of young people are being raised right now. And a lot of y'all damn parents is y'all fault. You know why? Because they go out here and they feel entitled, like somebody owe them something. Like they need to be given something.
I mean, maybe that's because people have constantly been told that, you know, oh, you'll get a 4-year degree and you'll be fine. Or that the entire education industry is based upon this idea that you'll get a return on your investment, and when people aren't getting that return on their investment, or when people are actually still struggling even after going through these programs, there might be a little resentment there. I don't think it's necessarily entitlement. I think it's generally us expecting that real life will live up to the hype that it's given. A lot of these colleges totally rely on this idea that their alumni are super successful. So, I mean, I don't think it's entitlement for people to expect that, especially as that's like a big thing that a lot of schools will like push as soon as you go into them. And also just the overarching idea that in America, we've been taught that anybody can make it, especially if you go through a 4-year degree program. There was this idea that, oh, college grads over their lifetimes are gonna actually make $1 billion more than people without a degree. Well, it turns out that is actually switching and flipping right now, and a lot of people are feeling upset about that, rightfully so, because college has gotten more and more expensive with the promise of this increased economic return, when in reality, it's not there.
These little babies, they softer than a damn marshmallow. Some of these young people that's coming out now, 17, 18, 19 years old, big old damn babies, because y'all have babied them their whole damn life. They've never been required to do a damn thing. You make up their bed for them, you clean their room up for them, you wash their clothes, you dry them, you fold them up, you put them away for them. They don't have to do nothing around the house, sweep, mop, not a damn thing. They don't know how you send them out here and they handicapped. And a lot of them, if they do know, they just lazy as hell and they don't want to do it.
Now, I will say that a lot of these are generalizations, and like, this person might have had a very bad experience with like one specific person who might have been a member of Gen Z. I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that there are people who do go through this, people who basically get everything done for them. I think we should be very cautious about making these wide overarching arguments that might not necessarily be true. And you know, a lot of people are guilty of this, right? Like, I think that as humans, people want to make connections between things. So this person might have seen my coworker is very lazy and they're a member of Gen Z. So therefore all Gen Z are lazy, when it's like, no, not really. And I guess I will give him credit that he did say it's the parents' fault. Because we'll see a video later and it's like all these like Gen Xers and boomers even are like saying like, oh, Gen Z is lazy. It's like, well, who raised them? You know what I mean? Like, if we're these failures, if we're these awful people, which I think is an exaggeration and not true at all, but if that is the case, then who's responsible for that? Who set that system up?
They come on the job and they think that they should just be given a damn check and they can go home. Not even given a check, just, you know, put it in their account. And they don't even have to come to work to show up. That's how they are.
I mean, direct deposit has been a thing for quite a while, and most jobs won't even give you the option to take checks. So like, I'm not really seeing the point here. And I did just want to go through some of the comments on this TikTok because I think it's really funny how a lot of Gen Xers, who I'm seeing are the majority in this comment section, are like, oh, my parents had to do XYZ. Yeah, your parents had to do XYZ, but what, not to be shady, but like, you know, there's a lot of examples like, oh, my father fought in World War II, but what were you doing? And you're trying to sit here and act superior to an entire generation. You're speaking nothing but the truth. This generation is sad. Cell phones ruin the country, period. They go to work wearing slides. You're speaking the truth. Yep, this world is full of soft parents today. Yeah, a lot of kids are distracted by technology. Plus, when one parent won't let the other parent discipline the children turn on the parent that believes in discipline. And there are some people pushing back. If you're talking about Gen Z, we're not lazy. I've seen tons of Gen Z people crashing out because they can't find a job, and it even qualifies more to it. I understand the entitled to wanting to get a luxury car or whatever. I prefer a cheap car for now, and down the road get a better one. My dad was fighting the Germans and the Japanese in World War II by the time he was 18 years old. But what were you doing? Okay. Like, I don't know, I just don't get this whole idea. Like, if you are comparing yourself to, like, these other generations, why are you sitting here and using what your parents were doing as, like, evidence? That's not your generation. It's really interesting to me. I feel like Gen X, a lot of Gen X, is kind of forgotten. Like, the boomers have the political power, the boomers have the wealth. It's really interesting how, like, Gen X is just kind of like, like an afterthought. It's like millennials, Gen Z, and boomers like get talked about the most versus Gen X. And you know, Gen X people are pretty nice and pretty chill. It's just some of y'all get a little bit too bold on social media and want to act up and want to act exactly like boomers. And it's like, no, baby, you're not even boomers. But overall, I really think this entire video just sums up exactly so much of what Gen Z is told. Like, that we're entitled, that we're spoiled. But like, I do think at the same time to just wash off and brush off an entire generation as lazy is insane, especially when a lot of the same people who are complaining about this generation are the exact people who raised this generation. Like, and it's also this overarching trend as well. Like, every time a generation or a large swath of a generation gets into about college age, I feel like they get sacrificed by the media and like basically every system in the country. Every single thing that they do is hyper scrutinized. I absolutely remember when I was a kid and millennials were the ones getting reamed like, oh, millennials are just lazy, they'll never own homes. I even remember people were like, millennials are causing Hooters to go out of business. It's like, no. I mean, the whole entire business model of Hooters is just kind of weird when you think about it. But I do really think a lot of Gen Z's feeling they're failing because the job market is absolutely awful, and a lot of older generations are just calling them lazy. Like, I think that's a perfect segue into today's video topic, and we're gonna focus on today. And today we're going to focus on how I think the so-called American dream has absolutely just collapsed and is not really a possibility for a lot of Gen Z. From massive amounts of student loan debt to just a decaying economy and a job market to massively inflated home prices, I do really think that a lot of us are having to face the reality that the idea of the American dream, you know, living in a nicely sized house in the suburbs, not being able to support a family on one income is really just becoming a pipe dream, is really just becoming something that people aspire to and less of a reality. But before we got too far into today's video, I just wanted to welcome everybody in. My name is Justin Jordan, and today, like I said, we're going to be talking about the death of the American dream. If you like this type of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that hype button. And thank you so much for watching. Also, thank you all so much for 40,000 subscribers. Sorry, I didn't want to like jump the gun and just kind of announce it, because sometimes I would look and it'd be like fluctuating up and down. But now we're squarely at 40,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much. But let's just get straight into it, because we have to talk about the job market and just the entire process of applying for a job, because that alone has just gotten absolutely awful.
Who else just can't get a job in 2025? I have been unemployed for the past 3 years, and I've spent the last 2 years trying to get a job. And tell me why some of the jobs I applied for, when they didn't respond to me 7 months ago, they respond to me now. Like, just to throw it in my face that I'm never getting a job. If you got a job out there, you lucky, bro.
I think that this video really does describe just how bad it's gotten, because even though a lot of jobs are seemingly using AI to hire and fire people for some reason, which we're going to talk about, while these companies can spend money to get the AI to like respond to candidates and do interviews, they can't get the AI to reject people. Like, we can't spend like 2 seconds to say, hey, you know, we're not looking for that right now. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's like a humiliation ritual to get a job now. Like, you basically just put your letter out there, and if you don't get a response, you just have to accept that. You get ghosted by jobs. And then a lot of the older generations are like, well, why don't you just go up there and hand them your resume? It's like, no, you'll get escorted out by security. Like, that is not a thing anymore. It's not 1997 where you can just walk into a company, show them your resume, and get instantly hired the same day. Even if you do get hired, it is often a long and lengthy process before they'll tell you when your first day is. You have to go through orientation processes, training, that type of thing. And then some of these jobs apparently are doing like 7, 8 rounds of interviews. Like, that's insane. Can we just make a decision, please? And then also the fact that degrees don't even seem to make a difference. Like, a lot of these jobs just treat degrees like it's a piece of paper, and it's like, no, like, they just want 8 years of experience, which is absolutely insane for a quote-unquote starter position. Like, what? And I understand wanting experience, but I also think that a lot of these companies have totally lost sight in the value of training up somebody and the loyalty that that can bring. Like, a lot of these companies are just interested in people who already are extremely experienced, without even like thinking about the fact that in the future there is going to be a large gap in skill if we are absolutely just obliterating these starter level positions.
It's gotten to the point where I'm just applying to bullshit ass jobs right now. Like, I have a degree in computer information systems. Guess what job I just applied for? Seasonal sales associate, brick specialist at the Lego store. Yes. Okay, hear me out. That has been a dream of mine since I was a kid. Okay, right now I'm struggling to find full-time work. So why not? Why not? Okay, ever since I was young and I found out that the people in the Lego store that you see sitting there building the displays get paid to do that, I build my own Legos at home for free. That's been a hobby of mine forever. I just can't afford them right now, so, you know, I just slow down a little bit, but I used to love building Legos growing up. You're telling me I did that for free while somebody...
And I really do think this speaks to a lot of the fact that, like, people will get degrees, and while you're going into the program, this degree is seen as very lucrative. This degree is seen as something where, oh yeah, you'll instantly get the job. I don't know if a lot of people have noticed this, but the transition from computer science being this degree where you'll instantly go into the job market with 100K to a degree that a lot of people are avoiding due to increasing layoffs and increasing, like, competition as it pertains to even getting starter level jobs. And again, the people in the comments just speaking to how dire the situation has gotten. The worst part is you probably won't hear back. If I was to apply to Build-A-Bear right now, I applied to be a dishwasher. I have a law degree. Girl, at this point, a job is a job, a win is a win. AI won't be able to replace you as a brick specialist. I have a bachelor's in business and was rejected from the mailroom for Panda Express Corporate. And now I really think we just have to talk about this next TikTok, because the fact that he had to apply to almost 2,000 jobs, I think is really just insane.
If you're looking for a job right now and feeling discouraged, just know that I applied to 1,623 companies before I got my current job offer. Throughout the whole process, I kept a really detailed list of all my applications, my interviews, everything I did, and I just tallied up a bunch of statistics, and my jaw's on the floor. I cannot believe it. But it may make you feel better if you're feeling really frustrated with the job search right now, so let me share. Okay, I received 795 total rejections. I interviewed with 61 different companies, so 60 of those rejections came after I'd done some kind of interview of sorts. I did 112 total interviews, and the most interviews I did with any single company was 6 rounds, 9 total. pause, and I got.
I find it utterly insane that we're doing 6 rounds of interviews. Like, 1, 2, 3 rounds, even 3 rounds, I feel like feels like a lot, but to do 6 rounds of an interview, like, what are we even looking at that point? Are we just having a hard time deciding? I'm not even trying to be shady, but I'm just legitimately confused. At what point does this become ridiculous and disrespectful of the times of both of you? Like, I'm sure you don't want to spend that long even looking at applications if you're in HR, so why are we going through 6 rounds of interviews? And then also the fact that he said that he got about, like, I forget how many, but he said like 600, 700 rejection letters, and that means that a large majority of these over 1,000 companies did not even bother to reply. And I know some places are doing things about that. I believe Ontario passed a bill to make it so that these companies had to at least respond to you in some way or another. And I think that even like putting an automated rejection letter after a certain point, like if you don't look at these applications, why are you posting job listings? I'm really just confused.
Rejected. I also did 32 total assessments, so this could be like case studies, take-home assignments, coding challenges, and just hypothetically, if you were to assume that each interview was 30 minutes, which many of them were longer, much longer, 112 interviews times 30 minutes, that equates to 56 hours of interviewing. And last thing, the job that I ended up getting was 4 rounds of interviews each 30 minutes. This is my 3rd full-time corporate job, and I will say I have never, ever had to apply to nearly as many jobs in the past. Like the job I had before this, that one I remember being kind of tough to find, and I think I applied to like less than 200. So if you're facing a lot of rejection, you feel like it's endless applications, let this be your motivation, because you just gotta put your head down and do the work and you'll see results.
We live in a society where your ability to make money basically impacts every part of how you live. If you're not able to make money, if your income is impeded in any way, you're not gonna be able to afford healthcare products, you're not going to be able to afford housing, you're not going to be able to afford a car, which is often an essential thing for people because we live in a very car-centric country where if you don't have a car, I mean, you gotta walk and you gotta use antiquated public infrastructure that is often crumbling and in some areas doesn't even exist. There's so many parts of cities where there's absolutely just no sidewalks. A 10-minute trip to the grocery store when you're driving becomes an hour-long ordeal. And I feel like these companies are just truly not respectful of people's time either at all. Like, I think it is really disrespectful of people's time to basically expect 56 hours of, let's be honest, unpaid labor to get employment, to obtain employment. And I understand there is this level of like dedication, and I get that, right? But to be essentially forced into 56 hours of working, like, this is not playtime. Interviews are not fun time. 56 hours of interviews just to get a singular job and having to go through 6 rounds of interviews for one company, that is crazy. But I do think it really speaks to the reality that a lot of people are facing. And I did want to emphasize that this is an issue beyond TikTok. This is not just anecdotal. Major publications have also talked about just how bad the job market has gotten. I did want to show you all this article. Scam, silence, rejection, U.S. job seekers describe depressing work prospects. Qualified candidates struggle in a sluggish market due to Trump tariffs, AI screening, and vanishing entry-level roles. This was written by Marina Dunbar, and it actually was published just a few days ago. I want to show some of the experiences that Dunbar found for this article. So Philip Kowalski lost his job at USAID, a federal agency that was absolutely gutted because even the US federal government is apparently laying off people at this point. He said, I put out maybe 400 applications in the last 5 months. I've only gotten a handful of interviews. I think I've interviewed with 6 different places. It's a really bleak situation. Kowalski is far from alone. From the tech-centric coast of the US to the deep south, job seekers describe a market where even advanced degrees, decades of experience, and thousands of applications yield little more than silence or often scam calls. The Bureau of Labor Statistics announced on Tuesday that the US added 900,000 fewer jobs than first estimated for the year to March 2025, highlighting already heightened concerns about the health of the labor market. The news followed a lackluster August jobs report with only 22,000 jobs added in the US. The report noted that 13,000 jobs were lost for the month of June 2025, the first negative jobs report survey since December 2020, the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The unemployment rate increased to 4.3%, the highest rate since 2021. And I did also just want to show another experience. This is from Taylor Napier, a 32-year-old from Kentucky who thought finishing her MBA would open new doors. Instead, she says she graduated in what is apparently the most difficult year to get a job with an MBA in the history of the degree. Napier's sent over 2,000 applications in the last 6 months, tailoring multiple resumes for roles in consulting, healthcare options, HR, and sales. Yet she says very few people reach out for an interview anymore. It's mostly scams that contacts me. And I really thought this next part was good as well because it really just describes something that is going to become a problem. She points to what she sees as systemic problems. AI-driven hiring tools that aren't really catching qualified people. A reliance on networking that collapses when companies are laying off thousands, tens of thousands of global employees, and entry-level roles vanishing under automation. And this, I feel like she clocked this. The bottleneck is going to happen when 15 to 20 years from now, our middle management is looking to retire and you don't have any fresh blood coming in. We really do have to talk about AI because AI has seemed to become a recurring topic on my channel. I've been very critical of AI, especially as it pertains to its drain of resources. For example, the Grok AI power facility that literally seems to be choking and murdering an entire community due to pollution. But I don't think AI in itself is an inherent evil if we actually lived in a society that valued the environment and things like power production. If AI was actually used to automate things that are mundane or even to help aid people instead of just totally destroying jobs, it really could have been a useful tool if we lived in a society where work and labor was actually valued. Because I think a lot of people have this idea that America is this
Hi, I'm Gooby from Gooby and Doobie. So I used to be a neurosurgeon. I went to college at MIT and did 4 years of medical school and 6 years of neurosurgery training, and I was a neurosurgeon for almost 10 years after all of that. So it's 20 years of my life. And I quit. I quit last year, and nobody understood why I quit. People would ask, but a decision that involves 20 years of your life, you can't really answer in a couple minutes, and most people don't have time to sit and listen to a 10 or 15 minute story or however long it takes to explain why someone's doing something that most people would never do, and they don't really understand why I would do that. So that's why I'm making this video. First, to help sort my own thoughts out about the whole thing, because there's a lot of factors, but also to maybe help somebody else who's in a tough spot. If they're in a tough spot like I was, maybe hearing my story will help them get out of that tough spot. I'm gonna put my hood on because there's some mosquitoes out here, so I can think without being distracted by them. So I became a doctor to help people. And I remember at the beginning of medical school, when I was just starting, there was a